Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Hari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Dadadi. You got a different key than me. Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Sodanandana Brajajanarandana Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Brajajanarandana Jamunatira Vanachadi Vanacha Jamunatira Vanachadi Munatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Dana Brajajanaran Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Dana Brajajanaran Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Tiravana Chadi Yamuna Tiravana Chadi Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatara Srimad Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ananta Koti Vaishnavarinda Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gora Premanandi. We're going to be completing almost chapter 9, the Damodara Lila chapter. We will be finishing or completing the commentaries on verse 21. Have you been hearing the classes, or should I do a summary? You've been hearing. Okay. So here's the verse. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not so easily accessible to three categories: mental speculators, those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. And this is Gopastami Day, and there's an appropriate section that we'll be reading from for starters. This is Brahma Samhita, verse number 1, Jiva Goswami's commentary explaining the word Govinda. It's good. It's very appropriate for today. Since Krishna possesses the type of form just discussed for the purposes of absorbing himself in pastimes, he sometimes appears as the king of the Vrishnis and sometimes as Govinda, the cowherd boy. In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami explains, O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Vrishni, O destroyer of those kings that are disturbing elements on this earth, O Lord whose prowess never deteriorates, O Govinda, O Lord who gives pleasure to the ears by the fame which purifies the universe, which is sung by Uddhava, the servant of the gopis of Vraja, O Lord, please protect your devotees. Shh. Though Krishna performs two types of pastimes, namely in Vrindavan and in Dwarka, the form as Govinda is the most worthy of worship because Govinda is endowed with the most affectionate form, pastimes, and associates. Thus, the Brahma Samhita mentions the word Govinda to distinguish the Vrindavan Krishna from the Dwarka Krishna. This Govinda will later be praised in the verse starting with the words Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu Kalpa Briksha. Govinda, the Lord of the cows, should not be considered an inferior name because after Surabhi bathed Krishna for his victory over Indra, Indra gave him the name Govinda as an honor. Lord of the cows, Gopastami. In the previous chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, so this is reference, chapter 27 is Indra giving that name. So chapter 26 is the Govardhan Lila. Shukadev prayed, Priyana Indro Gavam. May the Lord of the cows be pleased with us. If Krishna is the shelter of all beings, and then is called the shelter of the cows, it indicates that Krishna, as the Lord of the cows, is perfect in status. Calling Krishna Govinda, Lord of the cows, does not indicate a lesser being. The Go Sukta says, quote, sacrifices take place because of the cows. The Devatas appear because of cows. The Vedas with their 6 Angas appear because of the cows, unquote. These cows have appeared on earth from the supreme planet of Goloka. In the Gopaltapani Upanishad, Brahma himself states that he worships the Lord as Govinda. Quote, I, along with the Maruts, satisfy Govinda. This is Lord Brahma, the form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, who sits beneath a desire tree in Vrindavan. As well, in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma prays for attaining association with the Lord's form as the son of Nanda. Here's Canto 10, Chapter 14. This is Brahma's prayers. Text 34. My greatest possible good fortune would be to take any birth whatever in this forest of Gokula and have my head bathed by the dust falling from the lotus feet of any of its residents. Their entire life and soul is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda, the dust of whose lotus feet is still being searched for in Vedic mantras. Brahma addresses the Lord as the son of the cowherd Nanda. Pashupaganda Gaya Ja. My Lord, my dear Lord, you are the only worshipable Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. O son of the king of the cowherds, your transcendental body is dark blue, like a new cloud. Your garment is brilliant like lightning, and the beauty of your face is enhanced by your gunja earrings and the peacock feather on your head. Wearing garlands of various forest flowers and leaves, and equipped with a herding stick, a buffalo horn, and a flute, you stand beautifully with a morsel of food in your hand. That was the first verse of chapter 14. Therefore, other meanings for the word Govinda, indicating various great powers, are not accepted. The Gautamiya Tantra, in the description of the 10-syllable mantra, after reiterating that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, since he is all-powerful, concludes that he is a cowherd boy also. The 10-syllable mantra doesn't specify, but I believe this is the Gopal mantra. Quote, this is Gautamiya Tantra, explaining that mantra. Those persons possessing truth know that Gopi means Prakriti. Jana means the assembly of all the material elements. Gopi Jana Ballabha, he's explaining that the shelter of Prakriti and its elements is the Lord, since he is the final cause and pervades everything. Or Gopi can also mean the spiritual Prakriti, and Jana can mean the assembly of the secondary forms of the Lord. The Lord, or Ishvara, is known as Krishna, is called Ballabha. The master of Lakshmi and the other forms of God. Vallabha means the supreme light, condensed bliss. The word Gopi means Prakriti, the energy of the Lord called Maya, which is the material cause of the universe. The word Jana can mean Tattva Samuhaka, or the element starting with Mahatattva. The shelter of both is the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Light, composed of condensed bliss. This is the meaning of Vallabha. The Lord is the cause, or prakriti, and effect, elements. Prakriti is the cause and the elements are the effect. Is thus glorified by the Shrutis in this mantra. Another meaning is that Krishna is the master of many cowherd women who achieved perfection after many births. He was the son of Nanda, Nandanandana, increases the bliss of the three worlds. Now, all of that is from Gautamiya Tantra, giving a partial explanation of one of the Gayatri mantras, and specifically this meaning of Gopijana Vallabha. The reasons, now, all of this is the Jiva Goswami's commentary from Brahma Samhita on the first verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda. So he's explaining the word Govinda, and he's commenting on that first line of Brahma Samhita. The reason for his being called Ishvara, the possessor of all powers, there's two reasons. The first is he pervades everything as effect, karya, and he is the ultimate cause, karana, sarva karana karanam. Prakriti also refers to the Shakti of the Lord called Mahalakshmi, who appears in Vaikuntha. She is beyond Maya and arises from the Lord's Swarup. Anksha Mandalam refers to the forms of Sankarshan and others. Neka Janma Siddhanam means after endless births in the material world. This does not mean that the gopis are all sadhanas, siddhas, but it means that they, like Krishna, appear countless times to perform pastimes with him in the material world. Thus, the Gita says, chapter 4, verse number 5, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna. O Arjuna, you and I have passed many births in this world. So, Krishna's pastimes are eternally going on, and Arjuna is with him, and the gopis are with him. They're not sadhana siddhas, they're nitya siddhas. Although Krishna is eternal, Gargamuni also agreed that Krishna is the son of Nanda. Though he says the following, it can be explained logically that he is actually Nanda's son. So this is the name-giving ceremony. Gargamuni is giving Krishna's 8 verses. He gives names. So this is one of those. 10, 8, 14. For many reasons, this beautiful son of yours sometimes appeared previously as the son of Vasudeva. Therefore, those who are learned sometimes call this child Vasudeva. Then again, he appeared to be the son of Vasudeva because he appeared in Vasudeva's mind. Quote, he entered the mind of Vasudeva in a partial form. Similarly, that same chapter, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Devaki became beautiful by carrying Lord Krishna, the original consciousness for everyone, the cause of all causes, within the core of her heart, just as the east becomes beautiful by carrying the rising moon. But simultaneously he appeared to Nanda in Vraja. Simultaneously. This point is supported by many scriptures. We discussed this a couple of times last few classes. Simultaneously son of Vasudeva and simultaneously the son of Nanda. This point is supported by many scriptures. Although he made an appearance to Vasudeva, he also appears as the son of Nanda, Atmaja. Nanda and Yashoda's pure, great prema for him, filled with parental affection, is most appropriate. Similarly, although Varaha appeared to take birth from the nostril of Brahma, simultaneously he appeared on Varaha Loka. I never heard that one before. Although this was not seen by common people. Paragraph. Pure prema belongs to Nanda and is obstructed in Vasudeva because Vasudeva's love is mixed with knowledge that Krishna is the Lord. Thus it is correct when Garga says that Krishna, although son of Nanda, Atmaja, is also the son of Vasudeva. Shukadeva also confirms that Krishna is the son of Nanda. That's our verse, text 29 from chapter 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service. But he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. The knowers of Agama confirm this. The Agama is a section of the Vedas that deals with procedures of worship. Our process of deity worship is the Narada Pancharatra, which is from the Agamas. So here's the statement. It's Sakala Loka Mangalo Nandagopa Tanayo Devata. Nandagopa Tanayo, that's Krishna, the son of Nanda, is auspiciousness for the whole world. Okay, so now we're going to go to Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is teaching. This is his book, Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Have you heard of that book before? Looking, both of you, but have you heard Lagu Bhagavatamrita? No. You've heard Brihat Bhagavatamrita? No. Okay. You've heard of Bhagavad Purana. That's Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Srimad Bhagavatam, another name for Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhagavad Purana. The Purana that's in relation to Bhagavan is called Bhagavat Purana. So Sanatan Goswami wrote a book called Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Brihat means big. Like Bhakti Siddhanta said, a mridanga, the sound can carry a block or 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks distance. But then there's Brihat Mridanga, that's the printing press. Big mridanga. It's all around the world. So there's Bhagavat Purana and there's Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Sanatan Goswami wrote this in 3 volumes, it's like that thick with commentary, different parts. And Rupa Goswami, the younger brother, he wrote Lagu Bhagavatamrita. Lagu means light. Light. Heavy, light. Because he was humble and before his brother. You write Brihat, I'll write Lagu. And the topic in Lagu Bhagavatamrita is the avatars of the Supreme Lord as they appear in this world. It's now published by the BBT. It's with commentary. It's that thick. It's very important. Anything Rupa Goswami writes is important. So in that Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he's going to describe the same idea. Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, and the son of Nanda. Okay, so in ancient times, some devotees have said that the Lord appeared in his Vasudeva feature in the home of Maharaj Vasudeva. And at the same time, he appeared along with Yogamaya in his original form as Sri Krishna in the village of Braja. When Maharaj Vasudeva arrived in Braja, that's like Krishna was born and he took Krishna from the prison house to bring him to the side of Mother Yasoda. When Maharaj Vasudeva arrived in Braja, he entered the maternity room, saw Yashoda's daughter, and taking her, the daughter, with him, returned to Mathura. The Vasudeva expansion, which Maharaj Vasudeva carried with him, then merged in the body of Sri Krishna. Because this pastime is very confidential, it was not narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nevertheless, Shukadeva Goswami and other great devotees have indirectly described it in some of their writings. Here's one. Shukadeva Goswami explains that Nanda Maharaj is the actual father of Sri Krishna in Bhagavatam 10.5.1. This is the birth ceremony. Krishna's born. Nanda's having a big festival. This is the first verse of that chapter. Nanda Maharaj was naturally very magnanimous, and when Lord Sri Krishna appeared as his son, he was overwhelmed by jubilation. This is also mentioned in chapter 6. This is the Putana chapter. Nanda Maharaj was very liberal and simple. He immediately took up his son Krishna on his lap as if Krishna had returned from dead. That's after the twin Arjuna trees fell over. Everybody heard the big crash, and you saw Krishna tied up to the mortar. He was shocked. But as soon as he touched Krishna, he was okay again. Also in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is our evening's verse, 10.9.21, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not as easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. Here's another reference. The very first verse of chapter 14. Brahma's praying to Krishna. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the son of Maharaj Nanda, who is standing before me with conch shell earrings and peacock feather on his head. His face is beautiful. He is wearing a helmet, garlanded with forest flowers, and he stands with a morsel of food in his hand. He is decorated with cane, flute, and a bugle made of buffalo horn. He stands before me with small lotus feet. All of that is, he's the son of Nanda. And he's the son of Vasudeva. Next, the difference between Krishna's appearance in Vrindavan and his appearance in Mathura and Dwarka is described in Yamala Tantra, Yamala Tantra. Translation. The Krishna known as Yadukumar is Vasudeva Krishna. He is different from the Krishna who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. He's different from. Yadukumar Krishna manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathura and Dwaraka, but Krishna, here it goes, Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, never at any time leaves Vrindavan. It just appears that he leaves Vrindavan because it's Vasudeva Krishna that leaves Vrindavan. And the final text of the section, Vrindavan Krishna always has 2 arms. He never has 4 arms. He eternally enjoys pastimes with a certain gopi. And that's it for verse 21. And we're going to begin Hare Krishna. We're about to finish the chapter of Damodara Lila. No, but I've been going at this for this is maybe hour number 30 for, no, excuse me. Paramarupa was saying, probably 60 hours. With all the commentaries. So here we go. Just Damodara Lila, 60 hours. Commentary, questions, and it's an immersion. It's been very nice. I've woken up several times in the morning just dreaming of the Damodara Lila. It's really nice. Yeah, really nice. Okay. This is text 22. It's just, now this is a transition verse. The word tu, it's a transition word. We're moving from being tied by the grinding mortar to the next, the twin Arjuna trees. Krishnas tu griha krityeshu. While Mother Yasoda was busy with household affairs, the Supreme Lord Krishna observed twin trees known as Yamala Arjuna, which in a former millennium, Guyakau, in a former millennium, had been the demigod sons of Kuvera. Vishwanath, there's no BBT, there's no Prabhupada purport. Vishwanath writes, though bound by his devotee, Mother Yashoda, Krishna is still able to liberate others, as will be seen in chapter 10. Jiva Goswami writes, though he is exclusively the son of Yashoda, another incident is narrated to show that he possesses unrestricted knowledge and other powers. Yashoda bound Krishna, and he freed others from bondage. The word tu indicates a change of subject. Yashoda was engaged in constant work, parentheses indicated by the plural of household chores. She left him and went away, since he was in the yard nearby, as will be mentioned later. Other boys stayed there to protect him. She had no worry that he would go elsewhere, since she did not think that he had the power to pull the mortar or to free himself from the tight knots. Vishnu Purana says, apparently Yasoda to Krishna, if you can, please go, O boy with fickle actions. Sanatana Goswami writes, though he is exclusively the son of Yashoda, similar language, another incident is narrated to show that he possesses unrestricted knowledge and other powers. Yashoda bound Krishna, and he freed others from bondage. Yashoda was engaged in constant work, same Sanskrit. She left him and went away since he was in the yard nearby. She had no worry that he would go elsewhere since she did not think he had the power to pull the mortar or to free himself from tight knots. Same quote from Vishnu Purana. Though he was bound up, he could move. He is independent in moving. Prabhu indicates he was now independent in action, or that he was capable of delivering the world, because he was directly Bhagavan, Krishna. Seeing the two trees, he desired to give them mercy. So the Damodara Lila covers 2 chapters. I mean, the binding by the rope, it's 19 verses. But once he's bound by the rope, then he does other nice Lila. One of the explanations along the many hours of discussing this topic and hearing the explanation of our acharyas, there's this, one of the mysteries is, does Krishna feel fear, or what does he feel? Because how can he be feeling fear? Because fear is generally born of ignorance, and he's not ignorant. He's the supreme controller. How can he be afraid of anything? Because what can harm him? And he's omniscient, so he how can he feel that emotion? Is it really fear, or is it play acting, or what is it? It's a mystery. And our acharyas don't make it really super black and white. It's really easy for our Western brain, at least mine, to think black or white. Is he feeling fear? So he's feeling fear, but what is we can make it light and say, well, he's not feeling fear like we feel fear. So what kind of fear is he feeling? It's 2 things. Within Krishna is everything. Within Krishna is everything. And so also all emotions are within Krishna. And he's feeling that emotion because he wanted to feel that emotion. Because what can happen outside of Krishna's volition? Nothing. Or anything that happens is with Krishna's volition, certainly in terms of his pastimes. Going back to the beginning of this chapter 9, the Damodara Lila, Sanatana Goswami says something very significant, that Krishna wanted to be admonished by his mother. And in the admonishment by his mother, he's experiencing feelings. He wanted to, not worldly fear, but he wanted to have that feeling of the love of Mother Yasoda admonishing him. And so he was feeling fear. But he's omniscient. So this is another part of the mystery. Not at any point in time does the omniscient Supreme Lord stop being omniscient. He doesn't become omniscient, he doesn't lose it either. He's always omniscient. So if he's omniscient, how is he feeling fear? He's all-knowing. How can he feel fear? Because he knows he's the personality of Godhead. And it's so again, just keep staying on the topic. He's stimulating the love of Mother Yasoda. Because when she sees his eyes moving this way, that way, fearful, she sees him crying. She's a mother. She feels something. She's a loving mother. It was described when Krishna saw the stick in Mother Jasoda's hand, he was fearful, although he knew there was nothing to be afraid of, because she would never use the stick. So it keeps moving back and forth between divinity and an ordinary child. But she saw him as an ordinary child. He knew that she saw him. He loved that she only saw him as her only ordinary child. And he wanted to stimulate her love by looking fearful. And he wanted her to act in such a way that he would feel fearful. He was satisfied because of her love. Going back to it's this beginning of the chapter, Sanatana Goswami says, he was stealing butter and he ate dirt and she still didn't admonish him. He wanted her to admonish him. So he did this pastime in such a way that she did. She did because Mother Jasoda isn't going to do anything other than what Krishna wants. Krishna wanted, so she did. But even when she did, he ran, he cried, he didn't allow her, and then he allowed her. I mean, the flow of pastimes of Krishna is out of this world. It then makes reading these chapters and descriptions of the statements made by the devotees and made by Krishna. It's been making for me, Rupa Goswami's teachings far more understandable rather than academic. Meaning, the science of rasa. Rupa Goswami's teaching is the spiritual world is an ocean of prema rasa. A sindhu, an ocean of prema rasa. And the ocean has waves. And this wave goes up and it crashes with that wave, and then that wave goes down, and this wave goes up and that one goes down. And so it's a continuous mixing of waves of bhavas in this ocean of prema rasa. And so the devotees move from one situation to the next, like really beautiful, such beautiful literature. For example, when Mother Jasoda sees inside Krishna's mouth, each verse, Jiva Goswami makes it very clear. She's feeling this type of sanchari bhav. Now she's feeling that type of sanchari bhav, and then she's feeling another one, and she's expressing very, very different emotions that are just moved by a certain sanchari bhav, means a transient ecstasy, like a wave that goes and comes down quickly. And some waves stay higher, and then they go down, and then mixing of waves. So she's just being moved by the waves of sanchari bhav in Vatsalya rasa. She's feeling love for Krishna in these ways because Krishna is stimulating her love. That's one of the prayers of Brahma in the 14th chapter. You're the transcendental Supreme Lord, yet you appear in this world for one reason, just to stimulate ecstatic love within your devotees. And that's what he does. But he, on the other hand, he also wants to feel. And he feels. It's not imaginary, because everything is within him. So he feels fear. But it's not like the fear that we know. Or Nanda Maharaj feels anxiety. We discussed this with the youth group, the anxiety topic. But Nanda Maharaj was experiencing anxiety. But wait a minute. We're told from day one, join the Hare Krishna movement. And here's the land of Kuntha, and we go to Vaikuntha, no anxiety. Everything is like a smoothie up there. Nothing, no bumps. But Nanda Maharaj is in anxiety. And it turns out that anxiety is a sanchari bhav. It's called chinta. And he's experiencing a sanchari bhav, a transient ecstasy. Here it comes. Oh, what's going to happen? Vasudeva told me, better watch out. He's going to have problems in Gokul. Better get back there quickly. Find out what's going on. He's in anxiety. Because Vasudeva is Mr. Truthful personified, and he would never say something that's not truthful. So I don't know what it is. I've heard that Kamsa has already killed 6 children, and maybe he's, wants to harm Krishna. So he's in anxiety. He's a father in anxiety for his son. Protecting his son. But it's so, we can just make it really simple. Well, it's a transcendental anxiety. We don't know what a transcendental anxiety or transcendental emotion, for that matter, is. Even the ones that look like negative ones. Or the positive ones. And how's that in ecstasy? Negative emotion is an ecstasy. But it's an essential part of the science of rasa. It's one of the ways mixing that stimulates the primary rasa. So Krishna's just allowed himself to be tied up. The whole chapter is just see how strong is the love of Mother Yasoda. She can bind the Supreme Lord. The mercy text 20, the mercy that she received, it surpasses that of Brahma, Shiva, and even the goddess of fortune. They can't bind Krishna. She has more mercy than them. That's one of the contemplations that our acharyas speak about when Krishna wanted to stop the Indra Yagya. Indra's so puffed up. They should worship Mother Yasoda. But he wants them to worship him. And he'll get angry if they don't worship him. He needs his pride curbed. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll perform a pastime that'll curb his pride. Don't worship Indra. He'll get angry, and he'll do something dangerous, and I'll protect my devotees. That was that prayer that we read that Sutta is praying at the end, oh, Lord, this way, that, please protect your devotees. But he doesn't have to be asked to protect his devotees. He protects his devotees in all circumstances. Although it looks like, here comes a problem. So then comes the transcendental anxiety. But the transcendental anxiety isn't about us, it's about Krishna. And so he's moving from being tied up by Mother Yasoda, and now his always knowing omniscience is rising. That is to say, the sweetness of his activities with Yasoda She's off now doing her duties, household duties. So he's now moving, I have to uphold the word of Narada. I have to deliver these two fellows here, standing as trees for a millennium. He never loses his omniscience. It's really amazing. How? He's all powerful. He's the Supreme Lord. He's toddling around, crawling, and all the other things that he does. Why? And to stimulate the love of the residents of Vrindavan who love him that way. So he appears and does. It's how would we understand these things? How did people that don't have disciplic succession read Srimad Bhagavatam and make sense out of it? It's very sweet, nonetheless, but it's not possible to understand. And it's for us, it's meant to be combined with the Nam Sankirtan, because if we just read and read and read and read and read, then it's speculative approach. That is to say, the heart is not sufficiently cleansed to understand it. It becomes an intellectual exercise instead of a devotional stimulation of love. Therefore, the chanting of the holy name is of greatest importance, because Chaita Darpana Marjanam, etc., it helps us have the qualification to enter into these mysteries properly. The mood of service, awakening, entitles us to understand something of this unfathomable mystery. Okay, so Damodara Lila. Tomorrow morning we'll complete the chapter, and then what happens is we'll just go through, like reading Gopal Champu, like we did this morning. We read Gopal Champu from Gopastami. So we'll read the Gopal Champu chapter on binding to the grinding mortar by Mother Yasoda. It's really sweet. I can't wait. It's really sweet. Let's see if there's some discussion. Any? Yes. Mask so I can hear you better. Thank you.
You said Vrindavan Krishna merged into, Vasudeva Krishna merged into Vrindavan Krishna. Right?
Correct. Yes, Rupa Goswami teaches that.
So when was Vrindavan Krishna born?
Same time. Simultaneous.
Yogamaya was there born.
Twins. Specifically, a few days back we read, Vasudeva Krishna was in Yashoda's mind, and Yogamaya was in Yashoda's womb. The mind, same, because it says, as with Vasudeva and Nanda, so also, Vasudeva and Devaki, Nanda and Jasoda. Mind of Nanda, mind of... So it is, and therefore it is said that Yashoda is the younger sister. Krishna was born first. Simultaneous, like midnight. Boom, boom. Now, it's not only Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami, that's it for us. But many, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes this regularly, and as it said, it's esoteric, it's not well known, it's not therefore in the Bhagavatam, but it's understood by many great acharyas on the strength of authorities. Then he starts giving the authority that supports it.
Krishna leaves
Yes,
So only Vrindavan Krishna never leaves.
that's correct.
Vasudeva Krishna never leaves.
Yes.
So what happens to Vrindavan Krishna? Because are there any leelas
He
that
enters
involve
into the heart. He enters into the heart of the residents of Vrindavan. He enters into the heart of the residents of Vrindavan. Aprakat. And then he becomes prakat again. And then he becomes aprakat again. The prakat again, this is now particularly Rupa and Jiva again, that say, after Krishna killed all the demons, the last one being Dantavakra, Krishna spent 2 months in Vrindavan with two main purposes: to pacify their hearts, and to wind up the pastimes so that the eternal associates can go back to Godhead. The demigods that had made partial manifestations, they can go back to their demigod posts. And the eternal pastimes of Krishna can enter into the unmanifest state in Vrindavan. That's the explanation. 2 months. They could see him. They interacted with him. Everything. Gopal Champu is a conversation of what took place on a daily basis when two disciples of Narada are narrating Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan after he returns to Vrindavan. You know, from the early, it's a retell of, it's like in Ramayana. The Ramayana is told so many times within Ramayana. So that's what Gopal Champa is. It's a retelling while Krishna's in Vrindavan. And, you know, Krishna's there, Radha's there, and everyone's there. They assemble in the morning and they leave in the evening, go back to their homes. 2 months. And then the wind up of the pastimes.
Krishna is almost
Yes, because,
after the war.
yeah, Krishna does three things. He sends the eternal associates to the spiritual world and the demigods back to demigod realm. The eternal pastimes enter their unmanifest state in Vrindavan. And Krishna, one of his expansions, Krishna goes to Dwarka to wind up the Dwarka pastimes. Oh. So he's in Dwarka, and the Uddhava Gita takes place, and everything. Well, that happens, all those three things, going to Dwarka, entering into Aprakat Lila, and everybody goes back to the spiritual world. It's descended for the spiritual world. They go back, and the demigods go to the demigods' places. Those three things happen during that, or the end of the 2-month period. And no one sees the pastimes anymore, even the associates anymore. Because they went and they went. There must be some living entity still in Vrindavan when the show, you know, he ties up the bowstring. There's something going on, but you know that isn't described. It's a mystery. Yeah, it's a wonderful mystery. Better than detective stories.
Mother, I'd like to understand, or if you can elaborate, Mother,
Which?
the anxiety which we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, in many places. There is the Utkanta, and then there is the we hear Samutkanta, the different kinds of anxiety. And then we also know we have a material anxiety. Then there is a spiritual. If we can a little bit elaborate so that we can improve our state of consciousness and see what practically we can do. I mean, for a youth perspective, maybe you might have discussed, or maybe for adults like us, what we can do. See how we can change or improve.
Well, there's incremental and there's And there's short term and there's long term. And, long term is what you're attached to. And if you're attached to the temporary, what we discussed with youth today, if you're attached to the temporary, if you have desire in relation to the temporary, you're going to have anxiety. It's like boom, boom. They go together. The long term is to transfer attachment to the eternal. And in between, it's, your sadhakas and, unsteady sadhakas. A little more this and a little more that, and, the sine curve program of the rising and falling of unsteadiness. But tolerating all of that or passing through all of that in various ways that those things can be described. How we spent some time with the youth discussing, when it hits, what do you do? When you're not matured yet, and it hits, what do you do? When you get this anxiety attack or fear attack or something, and it's rising, and your heart is beating, and your metabolism is running, and what do you do? What are some tips? So aside from managing and emotional detachment through knowledge and discipline and so forth, that's just the negative. The positive is moving towards transcendence. Moving towards transcendence means making our attachments with Krishna. And there's things we can do on the outside, but really it's something that's on the inside. Doing things on the outside can help. Behaviors can help influence your emotions and even your values. And both of them can also help influence spiritual consciousness. But they can't create spiritual consciousness. They can be an assist. So the sadhana bhakti effort is to come to the stage where we want our relationship with Krishna, and we practice and cultivate and so on with that intention, that sankalpa. And as that moves, then higher consciousness will carry us beyond the material anxiety, and then we'll start to experience another kind of anxiety. The anxiety of transcendence. Like, here's one that's it's described in the Bhava Bhakti stage. That's the anxiety of using time wisely. It's not a time management per se principle that is of concern for a materialist. It gets amplified and even more meticulous than a materialist is a spiritualist. The Bhava Bhakti stage, one of the symptoms is one is very careful about time. Now, for materialist, time is money, and for a devotee, time is an opportunity to serve Krishna. I don't want to waste it. Not even a moment should be wasted. So, using the discussion we had today, Buddhism teaches be in the moment, and this transcendental devotee is even, at the most refined stage of being in the moment, and then you go on the other side of the moment to be with Krishna, because he's in the eternal realm, not just the moment realm. So, all of that is notional. It's an understanding, and the understanding can be our experience by properly applying the bhakti principles. And then our attachment, mayastakta mana. The mind becomes attached to Krishna. And when the mind is attached to Krishna, then the material, you can say it both ways. The material negative emotion anxiety, etc., is gone. And on the other side, it's ecstasy. And the ecstasy may look like some anxiety. But the difference is the impetus for love of God has been strengthened by that emotion, whatever, in all emotions. That's the progressive bhakti life. What do you think? You agree? Do you know a little bit about Ramayana? So, Sita was kidnapped, right? But you know what Hanuman says? This is in relation to your question. Hanuman says, not possible. Sita and Ram, they're eternal associates. It's not possible. Now, there's a Lila where Sita was kidnapped. But they can't be separated. Can you separate the sun from the sunshine? Not possible. So, but what did Sita experience? She experienced, it was terrible. Man, Rakshasis and Ravana and tormentation and, horrible. And Ram, when he couldn't find Sita, he was ready to destroy the universe. And Lakshman had to put a cold towel on his forehead and say, no, let's find Sita. His anxiety was over the top. But it was a transcendental anxiety. It's transcendental meaning. It intensified the feelings of love. In his case, he's the Supreme Lord. And so, according to Hanuman, they can't be separated. It's a pastime. The appearance of separation, the appearance of it's happening in a transcendental realm, and it's an increasing ecstasy. It's a kind of ecstasy. And then there's kinds of ecstasy, like you just mentioned the names, some of the names of kinds of anxiety. It's varieties of ecstasy. We're from our position, we can read about it and goes, that sounds interesting, but it's not part of our experience. So we just have to accept that's what's awaiting us is transcendental emotion, that this is but a perverted reflection of. And it's this, they're experiencing ecstasy. They're not experiencing suffering at all. Okay, anything else? Online. Okay, but our young Gandharvika's got something. Can you speak? How what?
How did Yashoda and Nandamaya disappear from this world?
How did they disappear? All that's described, very little is described. But a Vimana descended from the spiritual world and took everybody to Krishna Loka. All aboard. That's all that's said. Okay, online?
Yep. So someone asked, do all the associates of Krishna have partial expansions that undergo the austerities to enter into the Lord's Pragat Lila like Yashoda and Nanda and Dona and God?
No. Let's say, we don't, there's nothing in the transcendental literature that I'm aware of that says one way or the other. That's specified, so we know about it. The others are not specified, so we don't know about it.
What even those who are in goodness cannot understand, what hope is there for those in passion and ignorance?
The hope is Srimad Bhagavatam and the chanting of the holy name, because they both have the capacity to lift the influence of those lower modes. I mean, the person who was asking this question, think about what Prabhupada faced. Whew, mission impossible. I'm going back to India. But because of his purity and because of the potency of the holy name, and because of the transcendental, the willingness of the ignorance and passion covered young disciples, as Prabhupada would say, they've had enough of this materialism. They want something genuine. And so such persons can become relieved of the lower modes. Okay? Anything further? Okay.
Wise intelligence compared to Mahatattva in verse 7.4.
This question, I recall it being asked, and I recall researching it, and I don't remember what the answer is. Do you remember what the answer is?
Question, what was the Mahaprabhu because
Wise intelligence compared to in 7.4.
which is Bhumirav Anubhava, Ambuddhi Mahaprabhu.
No, that's it. No, it's in the purport. In the purport, there's some reference where intelligence and Mahatattva are equated. Mahatattva and intelligence are equated. Somewhere in the purport, something like that. Who's the person asking the question? Okay. So I'll see if I can find the research results. And if I can find it, I'll send it to you, Avik, and you can forward it to this person.
Also the same person that asked for the anatomy of the Narthas and purpose and those yesterday.
Okay. I sent that.
Yeah,
Okay. And it wasn't Tattva Sundarbha. It's Bhakti Sundarbha. I'll see if I can find.
But reading that,
It is something, I can't remember exactly either.
you know that it contains the false ego and then your mind and everything, all these are combined in that 26 or whatever, 24 sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't remember seeing somewhere Prabhupada referring Mahatattva is equal to intelligence, Mahatattva equal to mind.
No, specifically intelligence or buddhi and Mahatattva are, there's something more than just it's one of the 8 or one of the 24. It's somewhere in that.
Yeah, because that's the Prabhupada also you see continuous verses. It's not just that one, but
There is a-
further
Yeah,
that all elements are explained there one by one
Correct.
also. You have to see the context. Before.
he does say intelligence is compared to is from Mahatattva.
And before that,
As you rightly said, in the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called 5 gigantic creations or the gross creations, within which the 5 sense objects are included. They are manifestations of physical, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises of these 10 items and nothing more, but the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and falsehood, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with the mental activities are also not in perfect knowledge because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am, and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs for mental activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation, called the Mahatattva. That is the context.
I researched it, and I have an answer somewhere, and I'll try to find it and send it to Avik. Then you can send it to whoever else. There is an answer. It's a very simple one. Okay. Anything? Okay, Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Some other